Hi, this is Vera Cabero, and this is a series of videos on the new Google Sheets add-ons. This is actually the third video in the series, and in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to get the Doctopus add-on. Okay, I'm not going to repeat my whole spiel about Doctopus, but it is a fantastic new add-on created by Andrew Steelman with New Visions for Public Schools, and it's wonderful. If you used to use it as a script, you already know that, but it has some great improvements as an add-on as well, and it really will make your life easier if you're a Google Apps teacher. Okay, because these add-ons work with Google Sheets, you will need to be in a Google Sheet to use them. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new spreadsheet, and I am going to share it. Okay. And as you can see, I have the Addons tab on my toolbar up here. If you don't have that, refer to the previous video on how to get it. It's quite simple, and you'll have it soon if you don't have it. But basically, Doctopus is an add-on. It's a script that's just been made more accessible. And if you have already added it on, you'll have it on your spreadsheet. And anytime you want to use it, you simply click it and click Launch. Okay, give it just a second and you will see in the right hand pane of your screen this little pop-up, and this is fantastic. This is an improvement over the script version in that you can see all of this while you are looking at your spreadsheet, which is great. Okay, and the step one is to select the roster that you want to use. Now if you've already set up rosters before, you can just choose them from your list. You don't have to do it again, which is also a great feature. But for this one, I'm going to set up a new roster because I assume most people will need to know how to do that. So I'm going to click Build a New Roster. Notice also that you can select multiple rosters if you have set up rosters for each of your classes. A new improvement is that you can now select all of them at once, which is also fantastic. But I'm going to build a new roster. And it gives you some choices here as far as the method. And for this one, I'm going to do on this sheet. If you're creating a roster for the first time, that's what you'll want to do. But if you have already set up your classes in G-class folders earlier in the year, you can actually pull those in. It'll let you import it, and you just simply pick the spreadsheet. Same thing if your school is using Hapera teacher dashboard, you can pull from those as well. But I'm going to show you how to do it from scratch. So I'm going to do on this sheet. And then the next step is just to click create roster, and then you'll need to take time to get your students in there, their first name, last name, and email addresses. And remember, you're only going to have to do this once, and you might have it elsewhere you can copy and paste it in, but just click create roster, and you'll see that some new headings are going to come on my spreadsheet for first name, last name, and email. And I will tell you that you cannot alter those headings at all, or you will interfere with the script. Now I'm going to take a second and put some fictitious student names in, and I'll be right back. And as you see, I have put some student names in there, and I've of course given my email address. But even if your students do not have access to email, if they have a Google Drive, they can still use Doctopus. So even if your students don't have email, put their email addresses in there anyway, and it will then put these files in their drive. And then I'm going to click refresh, and then it's going to ask me to name my class, and the roster name will be the class name. So I'm going to say block 1, whatever you want to call it. And then again, if you already have class folders created through G-Class Folders or Hapera Teacher Dashboard, you wouldn't need to select this because you've already pulled those in. But doing it for the first time, Doctopus now does what G-Class Folders and Hapera do for you, which is create that folder structure for you and includes your student folders. So I'm going to click it assuming it's the first time and I need to create folders. And then it's going to give you a little preview window, and this shows you the folder structure for the teacher, which I'm going to have my class name, and inside that folder I'm going to have a teacher folder, and inside my teacher folder it's going to place my spreadsheet, my roster spreadsheet, and then the files that I share with my students. And then it's going to have a class edit folder, and as you can see, it is shared with my students, everybody in block 1, and anything I put in that folder, every student in the class, every student on the roster will be able to edit it. So that's something you might not use very often, but there might be a time you want to put something in there that everybody works on together. The class view folder is going to be something that the students can only view, but again, everyone on my roster will be able to see what I put in that folder, but will not be able to edit it. And then I'm going to have a separate folder for my student folders, and this will house all of my student folders. And as you can see, each of these folders has the sharing settings. I've shared this between me and Susie, and so only the two of us can access anything in that folder. Now the students can edit things in this folder, but they can't share them, and that's a great feature here. You don't have to worry about students' unauthorized sharing of documents. And so there are my student folders, and any other folders I would put would be there. Okay, if I'm happy with that, which I am, then I'm going to click Create and Share Folders. And as you see, my roster sheet is being changed as it's working. It first creates a student folder key, and if I spread this out a little bit, you'll be able to see that those folder keys are going to be unique. And then I have an exclude option here with a drop down. If I ever don't want to share something with a particular student, then I can select that for them, but I'm not going to do that because I want to share it with all of them. Okay, and there are my folder keys being created as it's working. Okay. And it tells me that it successfully saved my roster for block 1 and that it moved that spreadsheet into my folder. It's lots of little pop-ups here, and it's telling me about the folder structure that it created. And here are my examples, names of all the students that I added. And I'm going to save roster and continue. And give it a second to work, and you can tell when it's working and it's successfully updated. It gives you a pop-up telling you what it's doing. Okay, now the next thing is to set a sharing arrangement, and you do this per document. You can share different documents different ways, but I want to, you can have individual individual all the same, which every student in the class gets the same document, and they're individual versions of it. You can have individual differentiated, where maybe you've got 2 or 3 versions of a document to accommodate your students, and you can set up a group for them, and you put a column on your roster that has them in a specific group if you want to do this. Like you might have a group for accommodated, a group for AIG, a group for ESL, whatever, and then it will share the different versions of that document with them, which is a great feature, and I'll demonstrate that in a later video. In project groups, you can have, again, a group column on here where you have divided your students into groups for a project, and it will share one shared version of that document with the group members only. And you can have a whole class document where you have a single doc where everybody in your whole class edits. And for this one, I'm going to just choose individual all the same. And this is kind of letting you review your sharing settings. So I want individual all the same, which tells you here, and it walks you through the whole process. It really gives you lots of information, but the whole class will have no access to these documents. You could let the class view them, comment on them, or edit them if you chose, but I'm going to do no access. And then the individual students, I do want them to be able to edit it, but you could have them only view or comment. And then I'm going to leave this checked. This is a default setting that editors cannot change sharing permissions. And again, that's what keeps your students from being able to unauthorized share their documents with each other and cheat. And so I'm going to leave that checked. If you ever want to uncheck it, you can. And then I'm going to deliver these to student folders, and it will put them straight into those folders that we created. And you can also add co-teachers. I have a co-teacher already here. You can list other co-teachers, separate them with commas if you have other teachers you want to share with. Click Save and Continue. And it will give me a notification email as a co-teacher that I've been shared with. Okay, and there I have it. There is my folder, and now I need to choose the folder that has the document template that I want to share with students. And one thing I do want to point out, because Doctopus is making copies of your document and putting in there with students, the document has to be complete before you do this. Any changes you make after sharing it will not be reflected in the students folder, the same as if you make a copy of a document from someone else and make changes, it won't show on the original. So make sure it is completed, and it's kind of like a template you're giving them. But I'm going to choose a different folder. It will pull up all the folders in my drive. And in this step, you're only selecting the folder. You don't actually select the document at this point, but you can search your folder. So I'm going to search for 8th grade communication skills. It will pull up all of my folders, and maybe I want to share something from my book projects. Now I'll do STEMs instead. And I'm going to select that folder. And then over here, it's going to pull up that folder, and it's going to let me select the actual template document or file from the folder. And now remember too, this is not restricted to documents. Anything that you can house in your Google Drive, you can share. So presentations, images, drawings, whatever the case may be. If it is in your drive, you can share it this way. So I'm going to select a presentation. Maybe I want to share this presentation with my students. And I'm going to save and continue. And at this point, you have to decide if you want to use the existing folder name or choose a different folder. And this is a folder that will house your student files. And so it will automatically name a folder for you every time called Doctopus Assignment and whatever the date is. And you can choose a different folder from your drive if you want to put those files elsewhere. But I'm just going to go with that folder. And then you have this list of variables here, and it will give you an option of sending an email address and setting a naming convention. And so it's going to give you a suggestion here, and it will pull variables from this list into here. And so it's going to name these files with the student's last name, then their first name, and then the title of the spreadsheet, which I'm going to change. You can change it to reflect the assignment. Like maybe I might want to call it STEMS 9 instead. So 9 presentation. So you can call the file whatever you want to, but if you do change the variables, keep in mind it's best to copy and paste from up here, because it's very, very picky about variables. They have to be exact or they will not work exact in every way. And then you have a choice also if you want to notify the document editors, which would be your students that you shared with them, and they have email, you can do that, and you can change that to whatever you want. And again, you can pull from those variables if you want to personalize those emails. So I could copy and paste the first name if I want to and put it into my email. And then I could say I shared with you, and you can tell them whatever you want to. I'm not going to get into depth there. And of course, you don't have to send them an email. When they go into their drive, they're going to see that there's a new document there, but it is an option if you ever want to. And then you're ready to save and continue. If the save and continue button is not ready to be clicked, then you got to go back up here and make sure you set a folder to house the documents. Click save and continue. Okay, and step 6 lets us review the sharing settings, make sure it's what we want, which it is, individual all the same, no class access, individual edit access, shows you the item to be copied, and then it gives you a little preview of the email if you sent an email, and it shows you here that it's going to pull in the first name because that's what I asked it to do. And you can ignore the red. I did this before. You won't get that. I'm going to click rerun, copy, and share because I did this one time earlier as a demo. And it does tell you not to modify the roster while editing, and you need to be sure that you do not do that because it will interrupt the script if you mess with the roster at all while it's running it. And as you can see on my roster, it is now populating with the file name as I told it to name it, the file key, a link to the actual document, which is a link inside of that student's drive file folder, and then the last time of edit, and a column for the grade and a column for written feedback. And this video is getting kind of long, so I'm going to go ahead and stop. But in the next video, I'm going to walk you through all of the tools that you have now available to you to send emails, to refresh the edit time, to embargo it for grading, how to get to these individual folders. I'm going to walk you through all of that in the next video, so don't miss that one. And I'll also take you into the teacher drive and the student drive and show you the folder structure that it sets up within them. So until next time.